If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
With the details, I'm Marjorie Gordon. Scores of Election Day workers showed up at the headquarters of the Electoral Office of Jamaica's main office due to not receiving payments earlier today. Director of Elections Glasspool Brown says there was some confusion as to where to collect the payments.
There's no protest. The people just trying to get some information in terms of where they pick up their team. There's no protest. Now what happened that they are supposed, most of those persons are indoor agents and they're supposed to collect through the Bill Express remittance. And some location in downtown area were disbursing, so they had some issues in terms of that aspect of it. We have no guidance to those locations that they can go and collect based on the information we got from Bill Express.
He says the issue was a simple matter of clarification.
So it's a matter of clarification they wanted, because they have gone to a few downtown one and they were disbursing.
Director of Elections Glasspool Brown. He was speaking with Nationwide News a short while ago. Minister of Local Government Desmond McKenzie says the country's road network has been utterly devastated by the inclement weather over the last few days. The minister says 80% of roads have been affected.
But based on what has been coming in the parish of St. Elizabeth, in Manchester, in sections of Clarendon, in sections of St. Catherine, here in the corporate area, I mean, it is safe to say 80% of our road network across the country, including those that are under the control of the local government and those of NWA, has been severely impacted.
Minister McKenzie was speaking on Nationwide this morning with Daniel Archer and Apka Fitzhenley. He says East Rural St. Andrew is one of the parishes particularly affected.
By virtue of what I saw on Saturday, touring especially East Rural St. Andrew, I can tell you that the devastation there is severe. It is not only the infrastructure that has been severely damaged, but many homes has been compromised. And the challenge that we are going to face is that a lot of those homes, it makes no sense you try to repair them because it has been compromised so badly, and where they are situated, that another shower of rain or any such slippage will be, can prove disastrous.
The minister says he's unwilling to give an assessment at this time without full particulars. He says the problem facing the country is multifaceted to include poor infrastructure and a change in climatic conditions.
One thing you have to remember, our infrastructure is old and antiquated. Exactly. When you put in infrastructure, it's not all of our infrastructure, because we put down Marcus Garvey Drive, but yet when it was done many years ago, no proper drainage system was put in to facilitate the runoff. So what we are seeing, Apka, is a change in the climatic conditions, and also there's another aspect that we need to take into consideration. We have been desecrating our hillside and our forestry to build houses and to do all sorts of things that is not supposed to happen there, and we are seeing the end result of that.
Desmond McKenzie, Local Government Minister. Meanwhile, Minister McKenzie says he expects a significant expense attached to the recent devastation made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has already strained funds.
It's going to be difficult to actually put a costing. What I can say, it is going to be an enormous bill for the country right now. And with the COVID at the state where it is now, and with the cutback in terms of the economic situation of the country, we just tabled a supplementary budget 2 weeks ago. I can tell you that it is not going to be a hefty response that the government will have to come up with. It's just a matter of time. So over the next 2 days, I think we will be in a much better position to look at the dollar figure.
He also says that some shelters have been activated across the country to assist residents who need to move to safer ground.
We activated all disaster committees, and there are a couple of shelters across the country that has been opened. We will have more details in a little while as to the number of shelters and what the capacity of those shelters are. But I know at least there are 2 in the corporate area, one in the east and I think one in the Duane Park area, I think.
And outside of Kingston and St. Andrew?
I am not sure, as I said before, as to the numbers, but I do know that in Manchester, I think St. Elizabeth also.
Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. And East Rural St. Andrew MP Juliet Holness says her constituency has experienced major landslides and roadblocks. She says no division has been spared.
Probably for the first time in history, with heavy rainfall for the last 3 days in the constituency, we have experienced major landslides, roadblocks right across the entire constituency. No division has been spared this time around.
Mrs. Holness says even without an assessment, she expects billions of dollars in damage.
I heard you talking to Minister Desmond McKenzie a while ago. We toured Harbourview and the Bull Bay area in particular, and a bit of Kintyre because landslides prevented us from getting all the way up into the Cane River area. The assessment has not been completed, but I can tell you, Abka, it is going to be in the billions of dollars based on the level of devastation that I've seen across the constituency.
She also says despite the challenges, the National Works Agency has been responding swiftly.
It has made a significant difference in changing what used to be 2 days before a roadblock is cleared to us being able to do so in a matter of hours. And the NAA has facilitated this to a significant extent, and I love to thank them for that. However, with this type of rain, it is very different from what we have ever been accustomed to. Say maybe Bank Division, we have had landslides everywhere blocking off the entire division from every access point possible. In Craighill, we had landslides 3 times over the last 3 days that totally blocked off access from that area.
Juliet Holness, Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew. Meanwhile, Mrs. Holness says residents have been responsive to calls to evacuate particularly vulnerable areas.
Absolutely. Persons left immediately. They went to family, they went to friends. Not many persons chose to go to the shelter. The distance may have been a concern, but I strongly doubt it. Persons are not as comfortable going to a shelter unless they really have no other option, especially in COVID time. So everybody got to safe spaces, got to higher ground with family and friends, and I appreciate that they took the warning and took heed.
However, she says, unfortunately, 2 persons have been killed due to the inclement weather.
We have had 2 lives lost at Shooter's Hill, and last night we actually had more landslides. I had a report of another house being damaged, so I'm going to go and take a look at that as well. We are right across the board seeing, separate and apart from what we have reported in terms of general government infrastructure and roadways and bridges and landslides, private property that has been affected across the constituency. Many people have lost their walls, some have lost their homes.
Juliet Holness, Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew. And the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPSCO, says that several communities remained without electricity overnight. In a statement this morning, it says JPS teams continued their efforts to restore power supply to as many customers as possible last night, following widespread outages as a result of the persistent rains affecting the island. However, restoration efforts were hampered by deteriorating weather conditions, which made it more challenging to work in the dark. As a result, some customers remained without electricity last night. These include sections of Clarendon, St. Andrew, Westmoreland, St. James, St. Catherine, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth, and Hanover. The JPS says the challenges being faced by its teams include difficult terrain and some communities being inaccessible due to landslides, damaged roadways and flooding. It says the power outages are due primarily to trees coming down on lines and downed poles caused by saturated soil erosion and landslides from days of persistent rains and heavy winds. The JPS says its teams began work at 8 this morning and will make every effort to restore service to customers in the shortest possible time. Now, the National Water Commission, NWC, says due to the continuous rainfall, some of its facilities have been impacted. It says it's possible that this may cause high turbidity levels, blocked intakes, or dislocation of pipelines. The NWC says at present, a few facilities in St. Mary, St. Catherine, Manchester, and Westmoreland are out of operation due to high turbidity levels. These facilities include White River, Salisbury, Sioux River, Two Meetings, Moravia, and Bulstrode. It says the systems will be restarted as soon as the turbidity levels have subsided. The NWC is apologizing for any inconvenience caused and seeks to assure its customers that every effort will be made to restore water supply within the shortest possible time. Meanwhile, the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, says due to inclement weather conditions, residents will see further delays in their garbage and recycling collection island-wide in the coming week. Executive Director of the NSWMA, Audley Gordon, says the prevailing weather conditions have caused challenging conditions at its disposal facilities across the island, resulting in increased vehicle turnaround times. He says over the past few weeks, the weather has caused severe setback in operations. Mr. Gordon says as the weather intensifies, he can foresee further delays over the next few days. He says heavy rains have resulted in damaged roadways, landslides, and soil erosion. The NSWMA boss says while the company seeks to execute its mandate, concerns for the safety of crews and the protection of the company's asset are extreme.